Hey friend, welcome to the treehouse. Want to come inside? Oh, wait, just one last thing. All right, let's go inside. Welcome to Frame by Frame. Phil Ebener here, and I'm so excited to have you here today, tuning in live or watching the replay. Thank you for being here. So this is Frame by Frame, the weekly show where I go over our student photos submitted to each week's weekly challenge, and this one's another exciting one. In a Mirror is our challenge for today. Quick shout out just to say welcome and please join the Photography and Friends community if you are not a part of it already. It's a free, welcoming community of photographers. We're here to help inspire you, to teach you, to join you on your journey, and lots of cool stuff happening over there. So if you are watching live, which many of you are, I see a good number watching live right now, let us know in the comments below if you're tuning in and where you are tuning in from. Thank you for accommodating another time. I had a fun little school event for my kids this morning, so I had to delay this a minute or a little bit. But good morning, good evening. Hello, Suzanne, Maria, Barbara. Thanks for being here live with us today. So as I mentioned today, I'm going over the In a Mirror challenges. I also wanted to just give a quick shout out or news that I am working on this AI for photography course that I teased the past couple weeks. Now, this is a course that I'm very on the fence about teaching, but the premise is that I want to give people the skills to use the AI abilities that are out there but stay authentic to their own photography and creative as their self. So it's not a course about how to generate images with AI tools, but there are some cool features that Lightroom has that new apps have, like upscaling, focusing things that are slightly out of focus, all kinds of cool stuff. And a lot of also more of like the not actually taking the photos things, like prepping for shoots, helping with your photography business, getting support, using AI tools as a photography mentor when I'm not available, or another friend from Photography and Friends. So I'm excited about this course because I feel like if I didn't teach this course, I would feel like someone else might step in, or you might go somewhere and be guided in a way that, not that I mind, go ahead and learn wherever you want to learn and learn whatever tools you want to learn. But I just feel like it was one of those courses like the Powerful Photography course I released at the end of last year and the start of this year. Whereas like I want to teach this course to help people like be the best photographer they can be and use their photography more powerfully and have more impact. So anyways, that's going to be coming out pretty soon because it's not a huge in-depth course. Also coming next week, which is March already, lots of fun stuff coming to the supporters in the Photography and Friends community. So now is a great time to join. Let me just give you a quick preview or tease of that. We already have the Supporter Lounge, which is a private little chat space or Q&A forum for our supporters. But starting in March, I'm going to make this space live where it's going to be basically a live chat, sort of like a Slack or a Discord channel. We're going to be doing monthly exercises there where every month we'll have one theme, and along with the theme, I'll have a course that I give away, as well as other resources, inspirational photographers to look at, and we'll all be working on the same thing throughout the whole month. So this is sort of on top of the weekly challenges. And then the Let's Edit a Photo series, which I'm super excited about. And if you are a supporter already, which I'm going to shout out you in just a second, submit photos here. I've gotten 3 submissions, which is great, but I would love to have a bunch more photos to choose from. This is where we're going to take a photo submitted by you or maybe one of my own, and we're all going to edit it and submit our edits, and we'll see what we do, how we got creative with it in different ways. So submit your photos here. You can start doing that if you're a supporter. And then lastly, a photographer's showcase where we highlight one of our members, and we'll blast this out to the entire community as well. And so again, you can nominate someone or nominate yourself. Don't feel bad about nominating yourself. I would love to have more nominations. I think we have a couple right now, but just nominate someone that is in one of our members. I'm not talking about like a famous photographer. I want to highlight our community. So nominate. It's just a quick little survey where you submit a couple photos or a link to your portfolio and tell us why you should be nominated. But that's all coming in next week. So that's super, super exciting. And speaking of that, wow, we got 20 people watching live today. That's amazing. Thank you for being here live. Creative Fox from Cape Town, South Africa. Lori, what's up? Celeste, Rosemary, Jolene. If you are new, if this is your first live stream, frame by frame, let us know in the chat. Paul Evening. What's Paul Evening? Paul Anderson. Evening. Hello. Huge shout out to our supporters. We've got 28 of them now in the community. And that is really awesome to just see people. We've gotten, I think, like 7 new supporters since last week. And as a supporter, it's $5 a month. All you have to do is click one of those links in the community. You also get a free month if you join for a year. It's mostly a way to just support the community, help it run. It costs a couple $100 a month to host the community. And as we build out more spaces, allow for more things like live streams and things, the platform costs more money. And so you help kind of offset that cost by being a supporter. So I really, really appreciate all of you here. And if you're not able to support right now, that's totally fine. You can support me and the other photographers out there by just answering questions, by posting to the gallery inspirational photos, and whatever else you can to be a part of our amazing little community. So with that being said, I'm ready to get into this week's challenge, which is the In a Mirror challenge. Bum, bum, bum. All right, I'm going to take a quick breath, actually. A quick sip of coffee. How's everyone doing in the chat? Rosemary, excited for the supporter section. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Arthur, what's up? Arthur, first time here, even though I participate regularly. Yes, Arthur, thank you for being here live with us for the first time. Excited. I'm having my second cup of coffee today. This is like the perfect time to do my live stream, actually, if I was basing it off my coffee regimen. Because usually, like an hour and a half, I start this an hour and a half earlier at 9 a.m. my time, and I'm on my second cup of coffee already, but it's like I get kind of wired because it's like back-to-back coffees at that point. This kind of like spaced it out. This seems like a more appropriate time for me for my second cup of coffee. Paul Anderson, ready with your green tea? Yes. If it's evening time, then yeah, that's no caffeine. No bueno, no caffeine. And I've got my wife's chicken mug. I think this was a kid's present. We have chickens. We've got 3 chickens. 3? Oh my God, we have 4 chickens. My wife would be so sad I said that. There's 2 that look very similar, and she always gives me a hard time for not knowing which ones they are. They're named Daisy and Minnie. One is brown and one is black, and I always flip-flop them. Anyways, let's get to not rambling, and let's get into our challenge today. So what am I looking for in this challenge? I'm looking for ultimately creativity with the use of a mirror or a reflection. I was hoping more mirrors would show up. I see a lot of photos that were submitted with just a reflection, which is great still. I think we might have another, or I know in the past we've done a reflection challenge. So I'm still going to be happy to check out your photos, but extra credit to those of you who actually, used a mirror somehow in your photos. Creative Fox, evening here, enjoying a glass of red wine. Man, that sounds like a good idea too. Evening session. I might do my photo editing. Let's edit a photo in the evening with a glass of wine. Now that sounds like a good series. Because yes, I didn't mention, but as a supporter with the Let's Edit a Photo series, I'll be recording my own edit so that you can kind of follow along with me. Anyways, yes, I'm looking for creativity. I rate 1 through 5 stars. For each photo, I'm going to give 1 or 2 things I like and 1 or 2 things that I think could be improved about your photo. And if you're watching live, please leave a comment and your ideas for the photos as well. And people can watch back the stream with the live comments turned on so that they can actually, on YouTube anyways, and they can see what our members are saying about their photos. So Suzanne is here, and she is the first one who submitted a photo. So this is what I'm going to be reviewing first. Quick question, Arthur, is there still time? Go ahead. I'll have to, I'll try to get to it at the very end of the stream. All right, so first off, what do I like about this photo? I think it's a cool symmetrical photo, and just making sort of magic out of a bathroom situation. But I love the symmetry, and you got pretty much perfectly symmetrical. I mean, you did. The only thing that's not symmetrical, which bugs me, are these lights at the top, but that's not your fault. That's just where they are hanging in the room. And you got it in a mirror, so I think that's pretty cool. I can tell that the quality of the photo is a little bit lower because it's your phone. You can see yourself taking that photo with your phone. I think it would have been a cool photo if you had higher resolution and more information with like a raw photo to be able to like really play around with some of the contrast. It's all kind of like one exposure, and so that's the only thing I would say improvement wise for me would be to maybe boost the contrast. You've got these kind of cool textures on the wall, but otherwise, like composition wise, really solid. And we're gonna start out a little high today with a 4-star photo. 4 lightning bolts. I just need to change it to stars. Saying 4 lightning bolts or 3 lightning bolts doesn't have a ring to it, but I like this. I like the lightning bolts. It's on brand. All right, next we've got David with another super strong submission. I mean, this is a very cool mirror situation going on. Super abstract, but I love that you can kind of see like one slice of this being not a mirror. I'm assuming this middle slice. I'm going to give David a 5. David gets a lot of 5s because his photography is good. I really like it. And I'm just going off the bat with that 5-star. So just really strong photo, super abstract, but colors are cool. Contrast is cool. Even though there's like so many weird angles and lines, it's composed in like a nice flat way. And what I love that takes it from just like a kind of weird abstract photo to one that tells a story is the moment of the family lifting the kids and the stroller up the staircase. It's just like a really cool moment. You got this guy down here in the left kind of peeking and looking up and maybe at the camera or not at the camera. I don't know, but it's just a photo that you stay with and you keep looking at. So really solid photo, David. Cool stuff. And shout out to David. You see these little, I got to make sure that I have everyone's badges correct, but shout out to our moderators, Rosemarie, David, Very, Maria. Now I'm confused. Rosemarie, are you a moderator? No, Maria. Sorry. Thank you. Big shout out to those of you who help moderate. And then you also we'll see the supporter badges there if you're a supporter. So super thank you. All right, next photo is Kiara. Bike through the reflection of a helmet. Cool. Okay. What do I like about this photo? I like the storytelling of having the bike in the reflection of that visor. I think if it was just like the sky, sorry, Rosemary, I was confused. I like if it was just a reflection of like the sky or something. I think that would have been a little bit bland, but I like that combination. Improvement, I would say that compositionally, it feels kind of awkward being like tight and cropped at the top and bottom. I also wish I could see the reflection in the visor a little bit clearer. I'm not exactly sure how you do that. If you had a more telephoto lens and you were backed up and zoomed in on the helmet, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, any physicists out there, physics, I don't know. Anyone who knows, if you're zoomed in, I believe the reflection of the motorcycle would appear larger in this visor, which would be kind of cool. Maybe like for this photo itself, masking the visor and boosting up the exposure so that you could really see that bike would be kind of cool. I think the potential here is like really high, but there's a few things that I feel like are just kind of awkward, like the crop at the top, the exposure. It's hard to see the bike. Yeah, so I think this photo itself, I would try masking the visor and playing with the exposure of that. I'm gonna give you 2 stars because I like the storytelling element of matching what's in the mirror to the framing outside of it with the visor. All right. Let's go. Speaking of Rosemarie, who's a supporter. See, look at that cool badge. That's cool. All right, Rosemarie, the serious business of imitation. I love that. All right, so you got this reflection of the granddaughter. 2 things I love about it. I love the storytelling again. Again, it's about the storytelling of the moment. You are looking at a story unfold in front of you, and you can see that just from the photo without any words or text. That's what's powerful about this photo. And then the balance. It's not like a perfectly symmetrical shot, but I don't want that. I like the little angle that you're at right here. And the crop in is really strong. I would probably give this one off the bat a 4 stars because just compositionally, it's very clean. There's not a lot of distractions other than what is in the frame. Something that we always teach Will and Sam is like, look at every corner of your frame to see like, what is it? And is it important for this image? Is there something in your image that's distracting or going to pull away from the meaning of the photo? And I think you did a really good job here. My one thing is maybe this little corner I would have like cropped out somehow, but I don't mind it that much. So really nice job with this reflection. I love the storytelling of it. All right, next we've got Florian. Not taken this week. Does it still count? Yes, but minus a point. No, just kidding. I say this every time. You can submit photos from the past, and I totally get that depending on the challenge, it's harder to go out. But the point of the weekly challenges is to build a rhythm. It's like building a muscle. Your photography is like building a muscle. Spam calling me. And you got to get out there and practice it. And that's why I love doing I don't know if you followed Photo Dash, but I love doing my 30-day Photo Dash challenge at the start of this year. You can still watch all of those shorts. You could binge all 30 right now over on the Photo Dash YouTube channel. But even though I wasn't getting good photos every time, I was building that muscle of just being outside, being in new spots, having that mindset of like looking for stories, looking for compositions, and it takes practice, and that's really going to help you. Anyways, that being said, this photo is a cool reflection photo. There's a few other puddle shots that I dig. So I think natural mirrors is great. So I like the symmetry. I think the things that I would improve upon this are I would look at the lines of these buildings and try to make them perfectly perpendicular, perfectly straight up and down. You could tell these like pillars in the front of these buildings are a little slanted. And then I probably would have got the camera even closer somehow to the water so that the reflection, we kind of would lose this part of the street, which to me, I don't really care about, and have like the reflection butt up right to the bottom of the building. Like you would just have like the reflection on top, reflection on bottom, kind of thing. If there was something interesting going on right here, if there was like a car or a person walking or something like that, maybe like at this height would be totally fine. But just because this photo is all about the reflection, I would try to meet that reflection in the middle of the frame. Suzanne, are you asking about this? Is it natural? I'm not sure if you're asking about this photo itself. I'm gonna give you a 3. I think overall, like the reflection and the spot is cool. A lot of those suggestions I just said you can do in post and editing. But like imagine this shot if one of these classic British bus, 2 double-decker buses was like right going down or going towards you. That moment would be really cool. I do think Suzanne's asking if the reflection's natural. I do think so. I think that is a natural reflection. All right, Ira with St. Mark's Square in Venice, which brings back a lot of memories for me. I was studying abroad in college in Germany, in Bonn, Germany, and studied in a program with Sam Shimizu Jones through our college. So go way back. And I met my girlfriend there. Well, no, my girlfriend came out to Europe and we went to Venice and we stopped in St. Mark's Square and all the pigeons and birds were flying around, landing on my arms. Well, my girlfriend's my wife now, Isabel. And so it's just a really great memory that we have. Beautiful place. And so, yeah, this brings back a lot of memories, but I'm not going to give you any extra credit for that. I'm not biased here. Try not to be. But anyways, what do I like about this photo? I like the straight up and down lines. I like that it's the ambiance. You captured the ambiance quite well of the scene with the birds flying around, people milling about. Improvement, I would probably have wanted to see the top of this tower, even if you were tilted up a little bit. And again, maybe cameras down a little bit lower, but tilted up just a bit to see the top of the tower. I think you could have still framed up and composed it with the full reflection of St. Mark's Church. That's what that is, right? In the reflection. And then other than that, like I think just waiting for a more interesting moment or a person. Is there a person that walks by? Is there, a kid splashing water? Or is this person with an umbrella, like interestingly taking a step through the puddle or across the frame? Just something to take it to the next level. I think I'm going to give you a 4. This is a pretty solid photo. And I always try not to compare and contrast photos, but I'm just going to not say I don't do that because I do. When I'm thinking about the last photo of the, in England, I'm assuming that was England, and the reflection, this one to me is much more like straight composition, clean lines, balanced, a little bit more interesting stuff going on. So I kind of have to give you a 4-star at this point because I like it better. But yeah, it's a really solid photo. I think just a couple of those little things, especially cutting off the top of this tower, I think it would have been better with it. But I don't know. Those of you watching, I see 20 people watching live right now. What do you think? What do you think? All right. Next, we've got Priya Darshan. The lake is my mirror. Let's open this up. All right. Cool photo. What do I like about it? I like the symmetry. It's very balanced. And just, yeah, it's pretty much in focus. I think my room for improvement would be it's cut a little tight. There's not a lot of headroom for the bird. And so I would probably zoom out or something, or get further or something, so that you have a little bit more room above the bird's head. I almost don't even need to, maybe I don't even want to have the full reflection in the bottom. Like, it's kind of blurry and doesn't really matter, like seeing this down here. So tilting up is another option. And then I would just play with like a little bit of contrast, maybe either using masks or overall just boost the contrast, maybe bump the texture or the sharpness up just a little bit so that you could try to see a little bit more texture in the bird itself as well. I feel like the colors are a little muted, and again, by boosting the contrast, you would get more saturation and color in there. But solid photo. I'm gonna give you a 3. I think it's close to a 4 for me as well. Yeah, it's a cool photo. And the fact that you got the bird in there makes it a more difficult photo to get, and it's pretty sharp in there. Yeah, maybe it's closer to a 4 for me. Hong Wang took this photo in Uyuni Salt Flat, Bolivia. Beautiful. Wow, thank you for being a supporter, Hong. Man, these salt flat photos where they got the water, it looks magical. I'm going to give you 5 stars, Hong, because it's such a good photo, but there's one thing that really bugs me about it, and that is the horizon is not level. And I think you want the horizon level here. Maybe, Hung, I'm going to be a little bit more critical and change my to 4. It's a beautiful photo. I don't know. Okay, maybe a 5. I'm just not sure at this point. But there's a couple of things, like a 5-star, I want to not have any critique. The horizon not being level, and then also your subject, I would have preferred if that person was a little bit further ahead so that their head was not being cut off by the horizon line or the mountains. Like if they were here walking, or if the camera was up a little higher and they were not, their head was not being broken by that line. It's just those little tiny things like that you wouldn't even think of, or it's hard to think of in the moment, but that's what takes it from like just a great photo to like an amazing photo. That being said, I'm being super picky, and we've got lots of people loving this. Paul Anderson, Rosemarie, everyone, Suzanne, loving the photos. Is there dust spots? I can't tell. My screen is so dust. Oh yeah, there are a couple dust spots too in here. That is something that you can easily do with Lightroom, but now with the AI features that detect dust or sensor spots, it does it on almost automatically, and that'll be something I cover in my AI for photography class. But yeah, beautiful job. The colors are amazing. Nice, subtle. I would print this out. Celeste says, every photo I take, I hear Phil say straight out the horizon. Yep. And I learned that from Will. So that is passing down from generation to generation of photographer. The tricks of the trade. All right, Grace H. Garman. Let's see what you've got. You got a bunny. So cute. All right, so I like the attempt at getting the reflection of your bunny in here. I think, to be completely honest, it doesn't work that well because you can't clearly see the reflection. And you can't even see really the face of the bunny itself. I think this photo would have worked really well if you were in front of the bunny and you had your camera right down close to it. Now that might be hard. The bunny might run away, hop away, get their Easter eggs ready for Easter, whatever. But I think because you can't really see the reflection, it's just from this angle, I think it's hard. I'm wondering if you would see the reflection if you were right in front of it. Of course, that's something you'd have to play around with if you were there. But basically, there's a lot in this photo that, as a viewer, I'm not very intrigued by or interested in looking at. Like this top part is a little bit tough. This bottom part's fine. The rug there. I just want to see the bunny, and I want to see the bunny's reflection. So I'm going to be super critical, which I sometimes am. Try not to do. I don't want to hurt feelings or anything, but I think, just I compositionally, I want to see the bunny's face, and for this challenge, I want to see more of that reflection in the mirror, or in the water. But thank you so much for submitting your photo. And even, when I'm scrolling like this, if it was cropped more like this, and if you could see the bunnies, this sort of angle is fine, but more cropped like that, I think that would have been a much more stronger photo. All right, Paul, let's do it. Local ponds on a perfectly still morning. All right, what do I like about this? I like the sort of framing of this pond with these trees in the foreground. I think that's pretty cool. And the colors are really nice. I think improvements-wise, it's one of those photos where I have a feeling this is like way more beautiful in person than this photo necessarily represents. I'm not sure. Like, the photo is actually pretty amazing. It looks beautiful. But I'm wondering if like a photo like this would have worked better if you had a more creative mirror. And what I mean by that is I see this cool rock feature. And having like that one rock feature, if your camera was right in front of it and you see this puddle in there, if the rock was like something that was like more like a singular thing to look at in your photo, but then it has this cool reflection in it, and you still got like the background of the trees and that in the reflection, maybe that's a possibility. That's a completely different shot than this is, so I mean, this shot itself is I would say you hit the weekly challenge solid. The colors are good. Contrast is pretty good too. I really like that contrast. A lot of good textures. I think just creativity wise. I think maybe there's something I'm missing. I kind of want like one thing to look at rather than just like this open scene. But the open scene's nice too. I do not like this sign there. You can't do anything about that unless you erase that with a distraction removal tool, which is available now. Yeah, I would say solid reflection and good submission to this week's challenge. All right, Michelle, we've got the crystal ball. My mirror capturing the whole area of the park and then flip the image to show it right up. Yeah, that's cool. These balls, when you look through them, it makes everything upside down. I dig that. These balls, I've never actually photographed with one of these balls, but what I sense is that it's really difficult to like get something that looks like very clear and is easy to see inside the reflection. You did a pretty good job here though, especially with these flowers in the foreground. It looks like a little like bandstand gazebo type thing in the back. background, which is pretty cool. I mean, abstract wise, it's really nice symmetry and like framing, nice focus as well. I like the out of focus bokeh that you get in the background. It's pretty. It's pretty to look at. Maybe a 3.5 for me, I would say. I don't know what I would do to make this photo better. Other than I think if I could see like one element or even the whole scene a little bit more clearly in the lens ball. Lens ball, is that what that's called? Yeah, overall though, it's kind of a cool trippy photo. I don't know. What do you all think? I'm kind of stuck on this one. That's what I need. I just need to like pass the ball to you guys. Is my shirt bleached? Oh no, you know what that is. I was like, my shirt's bleached. No, the event I went to with my kids this morning, it was a fundraising color run. So it's like they were splashing all the kids with chalk dust. So I got some chalk dust on me. All right, next we've got NB Photography. I don't know who NB Photography is, but if you're here, let me know. All right. Got this wall of windows that act as a mirror, which is pretty cool. And you got this stair breaking it up, which is really neat as well. Mikal, I'm not sure if you're talking about this photo or not, but I love the colors and the finding this location is pretty cool. I think compositionally, I would have liked a more like straight on image of this building. I don't know if you would have got the same reflection though. I think because I can see that you're at an angle, you're seeing the more colorful building on this side of the frame. If this building went far enough and you could have just got more of like a straight on flat shot of like this segment of the building, I think it would have been pretty cool. Oh, Mikal says the previous one. Okay, oops, sorry. Mikal just wants to shout out the previous photo, so I'm going to put that up. Thank you, Mikal, for sharing your thoughts. I love that. Yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a 2 because I like the colors. Generally, architecture shots are really cool, but you need to like frame it up properly to be more artistic. It kind of is one of those photos where it looks like you just walk by, you look over, and you snap a photo. And some people love those kinds of photos. I want the camera to be in like a more interesting position, whether that's lower, looking up, or like get these lines straight somehow, which would mean like photographing straight onto this building. But it's one of those situations that's also hard because I'm not there, so I don't know exactly if you were straight on this building, what it would look like. I almost also feel like I could get rid of at this angle, get rid of this left side. And if I was more zoomed in and just like focusing on this area where the stairs kind of go up the side of the building, it's a little bit more abstract and I think would have been a bit cooler. All right, we got another building, Rain Black here. Another wall of mirrors. Cool. I think very similar situation where what's in the reflection is the story, right? And so you got this cool sort of older building in this shot. I like that a little bit better. I would have cropped this even tighter to just be on the building. I don't necessarily mind the sky up here, but I would have cropped out the plants down at the bottom and just had this more abstract photo in this wall of mirrors, this grid. But overall, I do like this one a little bit better because the what's in the reflection that I like more is taking up more of the frame. I hope that makes sense. But again, I would have probably tried to take this photo straight on myself. I don't know if everyone agrees with that. I don't know. Let me know. Let us know in the comments if you think straight lines or more at an angle for this would work. I think angle would work for this better if you were, again, kind of more tilted up or zoomed into the top of the frame, and the angle was almost even more on these lines, rather than like these lines right here are like close to being, they're not that close, but they're like kind of on the edge of being like perpendicular with the edge of the frame, versus if it was even more tilted, I think that would be kind of cool. And even just seeing like the top right of this building would have been cool. So did I give you your score yet? Three stars for me. Creative Fox says straight lines. All about the straight lines. Suzanne, I like the not straight lines too. All right, Anya Mas from Cape Town. Was this who was here from Cape Town? I don't know your YouTube names, but someone else was here from Cape Town. So Anya says, still my favorite self-portrait. And I think that everyone needs all of us photographers need a selfie self-portrait like this. Shot in a mirror is cool. I think this is a cool photo that we all need. I'm going to jump right into ways that I would improve this though. For one, the focus, it looks like it landed on the front of the camera. And so your eye and your face is a little out of focus. And so that's like a tiny thing. But like for this photo, I would prefer your face and your eye to be perfectly in focus. And then just something to like try to just improve the composition would be like looking at I don't know if here it would work, but looking at these doorways, I would have tried to position yourself so that you were framed into the doorway itself. And maybe one of these doors, and I don't know if it's with the door open or closed, but I think kind of open would be almost neat. But taking that extra time to like frame yourself up into the framing of this door would have been neat. You can tell you're like in a bathroom, and because of that, I probably would have kind of like tried to frame out the toilet down here, the toilet paper roll over here, little things like that. And then also just straightening the lines, like this line at the top. Again, this photo would be 5 times stronger if the framing was like a straight line at the top, sides, and then on top of that, you're like framed within this cool doorway, and then it's got this layering behind you of like these textures. That would take a photo like this to the next level. For this photo, I think it's really solid. I'm gonna give you 3 stars. I kind of wish for this challenge we saw the mirror as well. I think just for this particular challenge, but I totally understand this is like in a mirror as well. The text and everything is backwards. It's that classic kind of taking a photo of myself in a mirror photo. So don't want to like detract you. Really cool photo. If this is somewhere you live, bathroom in Cape Town, what I was gonna say is like go try it again and frame yourself up better, but I'm like thinking maybe this is like at a restaurant or something. So just I don't know, go on an adventure. All right, Paul Anderson I think is here, and 5 stars. I have no critique of this photo. It's so cool. I saw this one as I was scrolling by. Just so creative with the split lighting of the blue and the orange, and then on top of that, this triangular framing with these mirrors. I don't even know what that is. I mean, this just looks like next level photography out there. And I'm gonna say something a little bit more controversial to myself, but I actually don't mind that like the arms and hands are not like perfectly symmetrical in the framing. What's important is symmetrical, which is this triangle and the centering of your subject, but like having the arm just slightly in front, it actually breaks up the balance just slightly and makes it a little bit more of a dynamic image. So yeah, really cool photo. I think this is my favorite one that I've seen so far. And I can't remember what the other submissions are, but might be my favorite from the day. So really good job. And thank you for being a supporter. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hit that like button. If you're watching this in a replay, go into the community and chat and share your thoughts here. Help each other out. I think that would be so cool if more people were doing that. All right, Cesar Guzman, really cool storytelling of this photo. And that's what I liked the most. And so just epic job editing this photo together with yourself, kind of telling the story. So really cool job. And I think for that, just storytelling wise, I'm going to give you 4 stars. I think there are a couple things that I would do to maybe improve this. And I know this would be hard, but I think I like the angle of looking up at you being like the stern one. You know, I can imagine like I think your story was sometimes we are our own worst enemy. Be kind to yourselves, everyone. The story to me is more of like the parent getting upset at a kid, but either way it works. I think just so the upward angle looks good because that makes this version of you feel more powerful and intimidating, which is what you're going for. This is good as well, the positioning and the emotions. It's just the positioning, or it's what is it? I kind of want this version of you to be lower in the frame, or at least over to the left a little bit. And then this version of you even bigger in the frame, just to be even more domineering. I see a little bit of a weird, I don't know if this is the mirror or if this is like the just photoshopping of blending these together. Is something weird going on. Rosemary says, I wondered if the POV being swapped would make the harsh guy larger than the defenseless guy. That's an interesting take. Although I do think that like the harsh guy needs to be in the mirror, because it's like the reality is you listening to the harshness in the mirror, you. But that being said, I do think like just somehow get you closer, and I don't mind necessarily like the cropping out of the headline on like the head right here and then the left right here, because it makes you feel like cramped into this framing, which is helping the story. But still, I think it could have been a little bit stronger with you bigger or closer, more domineering. But that takes a lot of effort, and probably if someone was there to help, position you, that would have been a lot easier. Otherwise, though, really cool job, and thank you for being super experimental and putting in the effort for this challenge. Next, we've got Ileana. Ileana, this was another one of my close to favorite photos. I also like I'm going to give it a 5-star because like I think it matches a lot of the other 5 stars. You said it was an excuse to break a mirror, which I think is super cool. The sharpness of your focus on your subject is like really cool, really spot on. I like the look. I like the just vibe going on. It's really cool framing within a frame. The greenish blue edit, it's a vibe, and I get it. I don't know. I would be more interested in seeing what this looked like, maybe black and white or with a more natural white balance, but still I get that you're going for sort of a style, which I like. So yeah, I don't really have much other critique. I think this is a great submission to this challenge. So really good job, Ileana. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating. Yeah, good job. Someone asked, Lori asked, I think about the last one. How do you take this angle with a remote? Could have been with a remote. Could have been with a timer. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you could chat or submit a comment to him there. All right. Nice. All right. Celeste is here. Celeste, I love your photography of like miniatures and things like that and really detailed objects. Really cool. And this is another one. Great use of black and white. I think you can see the textures pop really well. I'm on the fence about like the framing of this, like rule of thirds over to the side. I think it could work. I don't know. Part of me wants to. There's something that feels a little off balance to me. And maybe it's wanting to be a little cropped in or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. Or maybe I want it centered. I don't know. It doesn't need to be centered, though. Things don't always have to be centered. And so I like the vignetting, though. Nice natural vignetting you got. Get a little digital pixelation thing going on with this vignette. I don't know if that's just from the upload or what. Are those Lego? Those aren't Legos. Are those Legos? I see this little part right there. It almost looks like a Lego. Yeah, it's a cool reflection. Is it the most compelling story or thing to look at? Not really. I'm noticing like in the background you have like maybe a window frame with like some light coming in. I almost kind of want to see some more of that, whether that's in the reflection, so angled at a different way, or just taking a photo of this with this reflection but in the scene. Oh yeah, it is Lego. That's pretty cool. So good close up. I mean, the focus is there, edit's there. I'm gonna give you a 3, rate you a 3 today. I kind of want something just a little bit more interesting going on with like the background or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. What else do you the rest of you think we can do here to improve this photo? I'm going to pass the ball to you. Yeah, it's a clean shot. It is clean. Maybe since it is Lego, like play with it, have fun with it. Put a little minifigure here or something. Yeah. All right, another one that I'm a little stuck at. Oh yeah, flowers from the Lego garden. There you go. All right, Radomir. Reflection of tree and water. I'm trying to understand what the angle is that you took this photo of. Are you looking down or is this flipped? Either way, I like that there's cool colors. I see a bird there. I wonder what that bird is. Cool colors, cool idea. I think that I personally like these photos of reflections where you see the reflection within the scene, the normal scene of the world. And so I kind of wish I could see like what this puddle looks like in the environment of, unless that is what we're seeing. Is this like a reflection line or is the whole thing? I think the whole thing's in a puddle, right? I'm kind of confused. Oh, or is this reality at the top and this is a reflection line? Oh my God, I'm so confused right now. All that to say, I think that like the exposure's a little funky because I can't tell if this is, the reflection or not the reflection. And if it is in the puddle, it makes sense that the exposure is a little dark. But right now I'm kind of looking at just like what I think are trees, and it's like dark up in the sky, and that's kind of weird to me. Why is it kind of dark up top? And again, I think just because I can't tell if this is like in a mirror or not, it's just kind of confusing. There's not one thing that my eye is drawn to. And I think with the more powerful shots, it's either a setting where there's something really iconic that I can look at and say, wow, that's the picture of this building or of this person. But then there's also like a reflection in there or a mirror in there. Or it can just be like a clean abstract shot. But I don't know. I'm going to give you a 1. That's just my personal opinion. Don't get mad at me. All right. Payman. Now, this is a very similar photo in a sense. It's a puddle, and you're taking a photo of a puddle, but there's something about this that I can appreciate a bit more because there's more context. There's context that this is a puddle. You have like the ground over here on the left-hand side, and it's just this generally nice framing of a blue sky with all these colors of the trees around it. So it's kind of just like a neat framing. It's still not like storytelling wise, it's not super impactful. There's nothing in this photo where I'm like, it makes me have an emotion or is intriguing. But aesthetically, it's a little bit nicer just from the colors, the contrast, the exposures. I think what would make this more interesting is if there was something more specific, more interesting in the reflection. But just as sort of like a general mirrored shot, it's pretty cool. I'm going to give it a 3. All right, next we're going to David. All right, so David submitted this photo. I saw it. What do I love about it? I love that straight, perfectly horizontal horizon. I do not really feel like this is in a mirror or a reflection. I get that the water is reflecting light from the sky and you're getting some color from the sky. And I actually think that like the focus on the water is a bit more interesting than focusing on the horizon. But I almost want the focus point to be closer to the camera so that I can see more detail in that water. I probably would have like panned to the right to frame without this branch coming out. It's kind of a distraction from this like very clean image. But unfortunately for me, I don't really see the mirror or the reflection, so I would give this like a 1 for this challenge. But if it was like a water ripple challenge or a reflection challenge, or not reflection, or like texture or something like that, or even like abstract, I think it would work a lot better. All right, Sandra M. All right, this is a really cool, fun reflection, similar to some of the ones we've seen before. That little watermark, I do not mind terribly, I must say. Improvement, though, I do think it's a little over contrasty and oversaturated. So if you just back off the contrast a little bit, I think that would help because then the colors would come down a tiny bit too. I like the colors, but it looks a little unnatural. This is a solid 3, maybe 4 for me. I think the one thing, maybe a 4. I don't know, 3.5. It's interesting, but because what's interesting is just this lineup of buildings, but I still kind of want something else going on that is a story within the scene. If it's not that, I want the most cleanest composition that I could ask for, And my preference would be, and I don't know if this is possible, but if you were straight on these buildings on the other side of this water, I don't even know if that's possible. Phil, you're asking for the impossible. But I don't know. I also, if you're gonna be shooting down a line like this, I would almost prefer even more of an angle to see, like, is this a river that you can see like the leading line of the river going into the distance? I think that would be kind of cool. Or it's just one of those scenes where you just wait for something interesting. Are there boats on this river that go by? Is there someone that's going to be like taking a break from work and sitting on the edge of this ledge, and you zoom in on them and getting a tight shot of, someone taking a lunch break from their construction job sitting on the edge of this river. That's the stuff that would take this to like 5-star, really amazing photography level. But otherwise, it's an eye-catching photo. It was one of those ones that you scroll by and you say, this looks pretty amazing. It stops you. So good job on that. All right, Derek Sardinta, the reflection off a lake in Norway. Ooh, I like the wide crop. And this is one where it's abstract, but like the textures and shapes in this photo are so interesting that like I don't mind this one as much, not having like anything other than the environment and the reflection of the environment. I actually don't like the trees right here. I kind of wish that those were not there, because I think that just the reflection of these cool snowy mountains in the distance is more interesting. So I don't know if there was a way to shoot this at a different angle where you could frame out those trees. Otherwise, I would probably have looked to like balance the trees in the foreground on the left side with maybe some trees in the foreground on the right side. And you could do that like in a number of ways. But even if you were photographing from in between, and I'm not talking about like right in between these trees, but like from back to the left or something, where these few trees kind of played a part in framing the bottom, might have been interesting. But still, like, really solid. Again, I think this is like a 3.5 or a 4 for me. Maybe a 3. I think I'm gonna end up with a 3 for this one. I think if those trees weren't there, I would actually like it better, and it would be a 4. I would probably bump up the contrast a little bit more to make the exposure not feel so flat. That would be another thing I would do. But really beautiful spot. All right, Phyllis Fox. We've got another action figure photographer in the house. This is cool. It's very like similar to the photo that Cesar Guzman did himself with like the characters, the domineering one and then the apprentice. So we got Kylo Ren here. We've got Darth Vader. I really like the composition of and the placement and spacing between them with the reflection. What I don't like is that you can't see Kylo Ren's face. I feel like move that arm down so that his face isn't blocked in the reflection. Whether this was action figures or real people, you want to see the face right there. But it's like a really cool textured background that you have here. And just like the somewhat blurry, out of focus Darth Vader in the background is cool. I mean, to take this to the next level, I would say things like dust off your action figures, make sure they look a little cleaner. Maybe even if you could have photographed this at an angle where you're looking over Darth Vader's shoulder, but very similar like placement and composition over here, that would have been cool. I'm gonna give it a 3. It like would have been a 4 if like it was cleaned up a little bit and that you could see the face of your Kylo Ren character. All right, Ian Ostrowski. Nice little reflection in the glasses. That's cool. I I I almost want like what's going on in the reflective glasses to be more interesting to look at. I think here it's like, okay, there's a mirror, there's a reflection in the glasses, but like what if you were taking the photo and you were like closer up or something somehow, and so you could like see your face like smiling, or it's such like a kind of goofy kind of look. But I like the positioning, the framing of the person's face within this frame is very nice. The colors are nice. Skin tones looks a little bit like desaturated or green, has like a greenish tinge, so I'd probably play around with that. Creative Fox was the that was you, Phyllis. Cool. Yeah, good job. I'm also gonna give this one a 3. I think mostly because the photo itself is great, but what is in the mirror is not super interesting and intriguing to me. And because that was what this challenge is, I think that's why I'm not giving any extra points for it just being a really nice photo. All right, we've got Jolene Clark. All right, we've got Jolene Clark with a breaking the mirror. Okay, I was wondering what the story behind this was. I get that. You got the duck there that's like going through the water, and you have this nice clean reflection, but then the duck kind of goes through. That's kind of cool. I think I like the framing actually of it. I like the foreground. It's got lots of layers to it to make it interesting. The edit is a bit dark. I would say brighten it up, play with the color, the white balance to clean that up. It looks a little cool. And then also, because the duck or this bird is like the star of the show, I wish that the quality of the photo, and maybe it is high enough that you could like boost the exposure of the duck, boost the textures. Maybe even if you had been a little zoomed in or something, or tighter on the duck would have been nice as well. For all of those reasons, I'm going to give you a 2 because I think there's enough little editing things that are missed that it doesn't, for me, it's not a 3. And maybe you could push it up there to a 3 with those edits. But I think the strongest thing for me is just the layering. You got like the foreground out of focus elements, the middle that's in focus, nice focus, and then you got the background as well. All right, next we got Paige. When you get side eye from your dog in a mirror. All right, what I love about this is the setup of the different elements. And it's that position in front of the animal where you could see their face as well as them outside of the mirror. And that was the one with the bunny. I kind of wish this was the angle you were at. The thing that is missed for me is the focus. And it's so hard to focus perfectly in a mirror. But you want, for this photo, I think you want the focus to be on the dog's face in the mirror. It looks like the focus hit right at the tip of the pup's nose. And so you have like this, like these string lights and decorations in focus, but not the dog. And that's tough because you don't get like a moment like this with your dog exactly in this position easily. But you need to have the dog's face in focus for this photo to really work. So I'm also going to give this one a 2. So close to a 3 or a 4 for me. I think it probably would jump up to a 4 for me if the dog was in focus. But still, really creative edit. Colors are good. Contrast is good. So nice edit. All right, next we've got Alex with this little things on my bench. Ooh, this is cool. All right, so this is what I want to see when it's an in the mirror challenge, where what's in the mirror is like clearly seen, is intriguing, is interesting. So I don't know if anyone else finds this stuff interesting, but it's like these little wood shavings. It looks like tools from like, I don't know, wood carving tools or something like that. And I like the symmetrical framing of the mirror. And you even get with the focus, which is perfectly focused on what you want in focus, this little thing in the center. But you also get to see like the texture in the background of the wood. It's just very, very nicely done. I think that like I'm going to give this a 4. The white balance, I have a feeling everything in this photo is a little brown goldish, but I do kind of wish that I wonder if it's a little warm, a little too warm in the white balance. I think the only thing that could have made this a little more interesting is, what would it be? I don't know, maybe a little more context to what I'm looking at. I think for someone who's in this trade, this is a really cool photo. You know, I could imagine this being posted to Instagram and a bunch of other wood carvers or whoever uses these tools really loving this. But for me, it's just like, to me, it's just like random gadgets and things, building crafts. And that's cool because I like that kind of stuff, but I don't know, I don't have context for what this is. You know, I'm just imagining, you know, what if this photo, you had this exact photo, but scrap the background. I mean, the background texture is cool, but imagine if you had this and then it was maybe framed a little different, and in either in the background of these little things in the mirror or beyond in the background of the setup was you or someone sitting there, I don't know, silhouetted or something, working with like a little pocket knife on some wood or something. I'm just like thinking outside the box of like what would take this to the next level. But I see a comment. There was a discussion about a second shot related to this that did have more context. I think I saw that one, and I think that's the one thing. But still, really great job. Cool photo. All right, next we've got Ansco, Eagle Eye. Similar comments to a lot of the other photos. I think the reflection is nice, but in these trees right here, but we're so far away from it, and there's so much in this frame that like I don't really care about, like this railing, this path, this fence, this cone. All of that detracts from the beauty of what is over here. I would also say that taking this photo even earlier or later to get more color in the sky at that golden hour would be nice. Or if it was this photo waiting for a moment, waiting for someone to walk by, to bike by or something, would have been cool. The horizon's pretty straight and level. It's a little off. I would probably fix that up or try to fix that up. But also for this challenge, like the in the mirror, like what's in the mirror, what's in the reflection, it's kind of hard for me to see in this photo. And for all those reasons, I'm going to give it a 1 star. All right, next we've got... Okay, actually, I want to read this. Ansco says, I've been wanting to capture a picture from the bridge near my home, and when I saw this challenge, I thought that now was the right time to give it a shot. Just a simple picture snapped with my phone. Yeah, so I think that's a great idea. I would just try to get a little bit more creative with it. Even if it was like, I see that this railing here has like a couple rails. What if you like got more over the river? Because I imagine you could walk over the river on this bridge, and the river was like centered in the frame going into the distance, and you still got like a reflection. Or put your camera like in between that rail and get like a really cool like cinematic cropping with a frame within a frame of that river but still somehow getting that reflection, because there is some cool stuff going on in this frame, in this river, like these little bits of land that are in there. Or if you could get closer down to the river. But yeah, just ideas. Hopefully that helps. All right, Barbara, try creating 5 or 6 different photos for this challenge. Good job taking photos for this challenge. I love it. All right. So you got a mirror, which I think is cool because we haven't actually seen that many mirrors in this challenge. So I dig that. It's a little abstracty because the focus is so shallow, and what's in focus is just off the butterfly. I would say the butterfly is just slightly out of focus, and I want that to be in focus. That being said, I actually like sort of the abstractness of like the foreground, and I don't even know what's going on over here, but it looks cool. I probably would have either cropped in just a tiny bit, or actually no, I probably would have maybe tried to balance this out, and like, this is a tip. Oh, Phil, you are one with words. When you're trying to like crop or frame up something like a shape like this, whether it's a person, a building, try to balance the spacing between the edge to match like the top and the side. I think that would have felt a lot more balanced. So like if there was this little sliver of space on the left side of this, I think it just wouldn't have felt like it's being cut off, which right now it feels like, oh, that's being cut off. And I kind of want a little bit more space on there. There's something about this that I'm very intrigued by. I'm my finger is like going towards the 4 for me, and it pressed it because I actually really think it's just the textures and stuff are interesting. I do think that it could have been better with like a sharper focus on the butterfly, that little crop issue, and then maybe if there was something more interesting to look at in the mirror, like if you set it up and you were looking in the mirror so that it could see you, or just your eye or something like that, that would have been cool. But otherwise, good effort, like putting in the effort, because it's paid off. Good job. All right, next we've got Thomas with the reflection of the water here, taken in a zoo in Belgium yesterday. All right, cool flamingos. I dig it. The colors, so Thomas. They're like, they got like the tealish and then the pinkish. It looks a little unnatural, so, but it looks Thomasy. And the focus on this flamingo is sharp, so I like that. And I actually like sort of the balance of the photo overall with like what's in focus and what's out of focus. I would have probably preferred this little flamingo not to be in the frame, so either to be cropped out or just been a little bit to the right or something. And I actually think like having a little bit of a cleaner image with like fewer birds might actually be beneficial for this photo. Like these ones in the background are kind of cool to see, but they're kind of in focus, and I kind of want to see them in focus, but then because they're almost in focus, my eye is drawn towards this big white one, and really though the focus should be on the main penguin. It's not a penguin, flamingo. I don't know, lots of little things that maybe could have improved the composition, but of course you're taking a photo in a zoo with like dozens of birds. It's hard to like get them to act properly. Whenever I try, it just never works. But I think again I'm on like the verge of a 4. I feel like we had a lot of 4s today. We had a lot of 1s today, more so than previous episodes. What would you give this one? I want to know in the comments because I think I'm going to give it a 4. Maybe a 3. I think the reason I would give it a 3 is that the Arthur, like the file name too. Yes, is like classic, perfect file naming technique right there. It's so easy to find that file in a year from now when you're searching based off a name. However, now with AI, you can just search for flamingo and this would pop up. I think the other thing that I would probably say pushes it to a 3 for me is that yes, there's a reflection, but the reflection or the in a mirror-ness of this photo isn't super strong, and that's partially because the water is so ripply. I think if the water was clean and you really wanted to highlight the in a mirror-ness of this photo, I would have been zoomed in on this flamingo, tight on them, and wanted like that mirror reflection to sort of match the cleanness of how sharp and in focus the flamingo at the top is. So I think for all of those reasons, I am going to stick to my 3, but it's still a really nice photo to look at. Like yeah, absolutely. All right. Shout out to Lori. You submitted a bunch of comments. It looks like your comments got posted in the main thread. Make sure that if you're replying to someone, you're commenting on their photo itself by replying to that photo. All right, Diana, I was hoping to find a better reflection this week, but this was the only puddle I could find. Well, thank you for going out there and getting the photo. I like the idea of this. You got the leading lines going towards the person walking away, and the fact that you have someone in there makes it stronger. I would have preferred, this is one of those examples where if you were straight on looking straight down, like the leading lines into the center with the symmetry would be sweet. Along with that, the puddle, get that camera lower so that the reflection is just more epic, and maybe wait for someone that was a little bit more interesting of a character. I guess the guy with the backwards hat may be cool, but I see like someone's walking with a bike up ahead. If someone was walking towards you, I think it would be more interesting to look at as a viewer. But like really solid job finding that puddle. I think I would give it a 3 still. For all those reasons that I think it could be improved, but great job submitting a photo and finding one this week. All right, Lori, who's a supporter, thank you. Granddaughter, not fond of bows. Wanted to make a statement protesting to her mom about no longer wearing childish bows. That is funny. Creative edit, I think that's kind of fun with the colors and the saturation decrease in the background. I can see you in the background with the camera, which is kind of cool. I like the over the shoulder framing. That's classic sort of cinematography look over the shoulder shot, so that's kind of cool. The quality looks a little bit like, I don't know if it's over processed or just the quality of the photo from the phone or something. You lose a little bit of like detail on her face and in her eyes. If you had like a really high quality file, this would be something where I'd be like, boost the exposure, just make with like a little brush adjustment around her eyes so that it's not in the shadows because there's this top heavy lighting. You get a little bit of a funky like depth of field. I don't know if that's in post or if it's like the portrait mode. It looks more like a mask in post where like it's masking sections out and you're blurring them out. Idea wise, love it. I love the over the shoulder. Editing wise, I think is a little over edited for my taste. But still solid in a mirror post. And I don't know. I'm going to give you extra credit for that because I think like making this moment in the mirror, what's in the mirror is very strong. I'm going to give you 4 stars. All right, Mladen, caustic. Only in quiet waters do things mirror themselves undistorted. Only in a quiet mind is adequate perception of the world. Wow. Now that is a way with words. Oh, this is all in the it was really hard for me to see at first. I thought that the foreground was like trees and you could only see the bit of the lake with the mirror, but this is all mirrored, which is wow, that's a lot of green. Nice colors, nice contrast, nice kind of straight flat lines going on. I think that the one thing that like I'm not sure what to think or feel is that like again, and it's similar to a lot of these other photos, there's not like one thing that's catching my eye. There's not one storytelling moment. There's not one thing about like compositionally that draws your eye to something interesting. Thank you, Trevor. And so that's the only reason I'm like, it's hard for my eye to know where to go. I would do a little healing brush, fix that little dot up there. I don't know if that's like dust on your sensor or something. Maybe like if there was like a building that was more interesting to look at and you could put yourself at a different point around this lake or wherever you're at where you really see the reflection of the lake or people, that would be more interesting. But it's still like a nice mirror, nice colors, nice contrast. So 3 stars for me. Next, we've got Yvette. Special session for a special person shot on the A6000. ISO 2500. Honestly, not sure what it all means, but want to learn. Great. Sounds like you are getting started, which I love. Thank you so much for being here and submitting your photos. And a pretty cool photo for someone who's just getting started out. I like the symmetry. The balance is really nice, and the lines are very clean. And you were going for those straight lines, which I can tell. Straight across and then straight up and down. Here's what I could do here's just like rapid fire things that could improve this photo. One, the white balance is a little off. You could tell from her skin tone, it's like a little bit cool. So I'd probably warm up the photo just a little bit when you're editing. You're very close to symmetry with this building in the background, which creates kind of a nice framing. But you can see that like this pillar, for example, is closer to the edge than this pillar. So I would straighten that out. Her head, I don't mind it being cut off, like meaning there's lines going through it behind it from the stairs. But she's wearing this really cool crown. And I think either you have to be a little bit higher with the camera so that her crown is not being broken up by this line of the door, which makes it hard to see the crown. Or my other idea to really make the reflection stand out is to actually be closer to the water so that, so just that's how you get that reflection of her with her dress. I'm not exactly green hedge in the foreground, but maybe having the camera closer to the water would have been cool. If you did that though, then her head would be higher in the frame and the background of her head would be more of like this door, which maybe could work if it was all the door in the background, but not like cutting through like that. Lots of little things. I mean, for this photo, mostly it's just, even though you're kind of breaking up the symmetry of her in the middle, I would still crop in just a little bit from the side, and play with the white balance. But all that being said, great first submission. I think this is your first submission. And thank you for sharing. Awesome job. All right, next we got Priya, where the water mirrors peace and time slows. I love these thoughts of like peace. All right, see, this is what I was kind of referencing in a couple other posts, where when the water is ripply and you don't get that mirror effect, then it doesn't really work for the challenge. I'm going to give this one a 4 because it's like clean, in focus, colors are good, exposures are good. I probably would have preferred even being a little tighter in on this, and you could probably just do that with a crop. I don't think the foreground elements of this grass do anything to enhance the photo. I talk a lot about wanting foreground elements, wanting layering, wanting things in between the lens and your subject to create depth. But this is one of those situations where this doesn't add to that. That doesn't create depth. It just kind of takes away from the cleanliness and cleanness of this frame. But otherwise, the mirror, the bird, super interesting to look at least for me. I mean, maybe you're getting extra credit because it's a bird. But great finding of a mirror out in the world. And wow, that's it. But I'm going to refresh because I think there was it Arthur that was wanting to get a critique. Let's see if you submitted. Wow, I think we had a lot of newbies submitting here. We got Arthur. Oh, and we got Mubin. Okay, cool. We got 2 more photos. All right, so first, let's go Mubin. Oh, that's kind of abstract and cool. I kind of like that you get the edge of this window, is it, in the frame. I almost want to see a little bit more. It's kind of too close to the edge. I think the framing of this reflection would have been neat to see the edge of the window frame. And also, like, you can, because it's kind of abstracty in there, you could probably, in like Lightroom, for example, use the transform tool to straighten out these lines. And if you don't know what I mean by that, take the Lightroom course and look for the transform tool, or just go on YouTube and watch a tutorial. You can make all of these lines perfectly symmetrical or perfectly straight, up, down, left, right. And that would just clean up this image. I would probably push the silhouetting a little bit more and drop the contrast, or increase the contrast, drop the shadows. Yeah. But still, kind of a really cool idea. I would probably give it a 3, maybe even a 4. Creatively. I need my 3rd cup of coffee. Creativity wise, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a little flat, and because you're already slightly silhouetted in here, the 3 figures here, I would lean into that. All right, next we've got Arthur. Down to the wire, trying to be creative with longer exposure. I was on my own trying new techniques and showed some to my girlfriend. She asked for one of hers, of course. Ooh, that is a cool photo. Nice. Abstract, but fun textures going on. I'm wondering what this light that you used here. What was your technique in ghosting this? Was this like a long exposure where you had the camera still for a while, then moved it? Let us know in the comments, because this is really cool. Also very cinematic, because there's so much creative abstraction going on with the textures and the lights and shapes you see. Like, I don't need to have this, your girlfriend, being perfectly in focus. Yeah, this is just really cool. This, along with Paul Anderson's, I think are my favorite photo. I'm glad that you got this in there down to the wire. I like the balance of like rule of thirds for this photo where your girlfriend's like on the side, but then you have like negative space up on the left, which I think is really cool. You can tell where you are. So there's context from the background, from like the soap, the mirror, the faucet. Just a really cool photo, Arthur. Thank you for posting this. Really, really think it's cool. And Arthur says, I had it set to 1 second and shake the camera. Yeah, fun, funky stuff. Oh, and it's that, I'm just noticing, it's that reflection of the light in the faucet where when you're moving the camera, you're getting those light streaks. That's crazy. Crazy, but cool. All right, well, I think that is it for today. But before you go, don't go yet. I just want to remind you, thank you to our supporters. We've got 28 supporters in the house, in the community so far. Would love to have you as a supporter if you are interested in it. Let me show you really quickly. Next week in March, we are really ramping up the supporter section, and you will want to be a part of it. So now is the best time to join. Supporters starting next week will have access to the Supporter Lounge, which is a dedicated forum where you could ask questions, post your photo critiques, anything that you want that you do here, but you just want to do it amongst supporters, you can do it here in the Supporter Lounge. There's also going to be a live chat space. So this is more of like a Discord, Slack space where you could get, direct chat with me and the rest of the supporters. There's going to be a monthly exercise, and these are based off of your votes and what you're looking for support with. We already have the first month selected, but please go ahead and post. If you haven't already, if you're a supporter, go to this survey here. And if you have other ideas for what you want for a future month to work on, post it in the comments, okay? Because these were just like initial ideas. But each month we're going to be taking a theme, working on it together. Basically, it's going to be like a post with like a free course, and a photographer that's outside of this community to look at for inspiration, some tips and advice for that type of photography. And then it's just going to be a post where we can just submit photos related to that and get feedback and work on it together. We've got the Let's Edit a Photo. This will probably appear in a week or two. I'm going to try to space out so it's not like overload of stuff at the start of the month. But this is where we're all going to work on editing one photo and really see how creative we can get. Submit your photos. So if you're a supporter, go here, click the link. It's a Google Drive file folder where you can upload your own photos. Don't go crazy, but like 5 to 10 photos per person is fine. This will be live all year long. And then also the photographer showcase. So if you want to be featured, or if there's another photographer here in the community that you think should be featured, submit them here. It's a little Google form. And every month we'll be doing a post with like probably in the announcements maybe, or I'll create another post here that's live for everyone to see and appreciate that person, that photographer's photography. It'll be a way to like hopefully push people to their social media profiles, to their portfolios, wherever that person has like their photography, get more eyeballs on it. So that's all. If you click on any of these links right now and you're not a supporter, you'll see a page where you could sign up. And it's $5 a month. And it would be very, very helpful to have you as a supporter. So again, thank you to our supporters. Stay tuned for the AI for Photography course. If you weren't here at the very beginning of the session, this is not a course where I'm teaching you how to replace yourself with AI. I am only covering the features of tools in Lightroom and other tools. It's not just going to be Lightroom, so don't worry. It's not just Lightroom, but how we can use AI to help us, but still stay honest and authentic to our own photography. That's the goal with the class. So if you are interested or if you just want to support, stay tuned for that announcement. All right, I think that is it. Another beautiful frame by frame, another beautiful day. Get out there. Thank you to everyone who has posted today. Next week, it's the minimalism challenge. Oh my God, this is another good one. I love shallow depth of field. I love minimalism. So get out there and post your minimalistic photos. I'll be looking for things that just capture minimally. That is the last words I'm going to say today. I've used up all my words. Wow, and I'm pressing the wrong buttons. All right, have a beautiful day, y'all. See you next week, and keep being amazing. Bye.